Hello there and welcome to Zirkzank Says. This is an episode where I'm going to be looking at actions versus intentions. Yes, if you've ever done anything to do with school level philosophy, you'll be familiar with this, but I wanted to weigh in my arguments in favor of deontology or deontological ethics versus consequentialism, because I've had some discussions with my friend Ryan about this. He's a strong believer and advocate that consequentialism is more basically we're talking about good people versus bad people, and he's saying that consequences is what defines whether someone's a good or bad person, and I'm saying that they're basically, the Jeremy Bentham aspect of it, that what people think is more important than what they actually do, because it's a disconnection between what you want to do, or what you should do, and what you actually can do. I'm going to read what I wrote here so that I can get back into the train of thought. The assumption on what makes a good person or a bad person is always relative. In this case, I'm saying that what's good relative to the human race or to society, rather than just what's good in the individual's own interests. Coincidentally, what's good for an individual is actually good for the human race through logic. But I need to put utilitarianism, because that's kind of what I'm going for here. Action's good if it's useful to the perspective of humanity or to society, as in a city or a country, for example. Though saying something that's good for one country might be bad for another country, usually, you know what I mean, good for the human race overall. That's all the debatable stuff, but that's the kind of good and bad that I'm getting at here. So what I want to make a case for here is that an individual may have interest in helping others, but it's still a personal interest for their own satisfaction rather than purely altruistic motives. Altruism is logical because realizing how the concept of the self and personal identity are not useful overall. Basically, Google this, because I try and explain it, but because people and their minds and personalities and identity really doesn't matter when you're thinking of human race overall, or you're thinking of the universe from just a physical matter perspective. That stuff doesn't necessarily exist, and that doesn't actually affect progress. I mean, it affects your social position and how you function socially, because everyone else is oh yeah, I'm me and me matters, or I'm me and I don't matter. You have a perspective, you identify as yourself, but really you are just everything around you. You're not you, you're just neurons and electricity. Your brain, what you think you are, as in you as a person, that's all in here, is just the result of observation and physical experience in the world. You hearing and sight and taste and smell and everything. It's just sensory inputs into a programmable brain. So that's what I'm getting at when I say that the self and personality from a physical standpoint aren't real. because you're just cells, which are atoms and electrons, DNA. Not in any order, but you know what I'm getting at, like, it's just matter. Personality and stuff is kind of nice when you want to just turn the thinking part of your brain off and just, you know, have chemical reactions that are fun. But when it comes to usefulness to the human race, getting back to that, I want to say, for example, that extending the longevity of the human race, making people be able to live longer as a species, is arguably useful, as opposed to destroying scientific progress. That's not very useful, because that prevents the longevity of humanity. Like, for example, smashing up science equipment and denying research, like denying climate change. It's good to have skepticism in a field, because then you get to test for the reality of the situation, but in a dangerous situation like climate change, for example, where you can end up raising sea levels, killing lots of people and lots of animal species, and making the planet have more storms, that doesn't help for the human race. Not to say that we're the most important, but like, I'm going to argue and say that humans are important, and it's important that we protect the planet that we currently all live on. So, for example, denying climate change is not very useful. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. Oh yeah. So, doing unuseful stuff is considered bad, and I would say that anyone who does stuff to hinder human race is bad. So, for example, people who, right, going back to the whole what you do versus what you think, or versus like what you want to do. This is just completely off, back to that topic. Like, forget what I was just saying. Well, bear in mind what I was just saying, but this is just like whoosh, transition. If somebody wants to do something good, but they can't do something good in the current situation, for example, you want to help the dying, starving children, but you are a dying, starving person with no way to help those people. Are you a bad person because you don't help them? Well, no, like, because you want to help them. And wanting to help people, I think, makes you a better person than not wanting to help them. For example, somebody who wants to do useful things, regardless of whether they can or not, will likely do useful things when they can. So a good person remains, or a person who is good, a good person and remains a good person and has good intentions. Someone with good intentions throughout their life will end up doing more good things than bad, or at least you would want more people to have good intentions than for people to have bad intentions. Whereas my friend argues that it doesn't matter what people's intentions are if the result is that even if they have sinister motives, as long as they, for example, smile on the outside and do good things, then they're actually a good person. So, for example, if you have good intentions and you have like good morality and good ethics, good moral principles, and you want to do lots of utilitarian, useful things, but you kill somebody, you accidentally kill somebody, or you do something that's deemed bad, or unuseful, that then makes you a bad person. Because you've done something bad, you can't not be a bad person. That's what Ryan says, and I say that somebody who does something that's bad but didn't want to, or didn't mean to, or regrets it, isn't a bad person. But then in the eyes of the law, it's like, if you follow the law is based on the fact that if you do something bad, you are viewed as, okay, if you break the law, you are viewed as a criminal. It doesn't matter whether you meant to break the law, whether you wanted to break the law or not. You've done an action, so there is consequence to it. So that's consequentialism. That's not like the entire principle of it, but the idea of consequentialism is usually contrasted with deontology, in that deontology, which rules that a moral duty are central, derives to rightness or wrongness of one's conduct from one's character of the behaviour itself rather than the outcomes of the conduct. So yeah, the whole idea of this is that what you do is what matters. Doesn't matter what your intentions are. Like, you could go your whole life, for example, with the intention of murdering everyone around you, nuking the planet, cutting the heads off of kittens, molesting children, and this kind of thing. But if you were an upstanding citizen, you helped the old lady cross the street, you paid your taxes, and you gave to the community and stuff, it wouldn't matter that you wanted to eat human flesh, because it doesn't matter what you want to do, it's what you actually do. That's the argument that Ryan puts forth, and I agree that somebody who wants to do that stuff but chooses not to is maybe a good person, like maybe because they're choosing not to, and it's the act of choosing not to act on their impulses that does make them a good person because they choose not to. However, if the only reason that they choose not to do that is because they can't do that, for example, they choose not to cut kittens' heads off because they can't cut kittens' heads off, because if they did that, they would get caught, for example, or they don't molest children because they can't find any children to molest, or they don't steal because they're afraid of getting caught. If you see what I mean, like, they would do it if there were no obstacles, or if the obstacles were easier. It's like they're not stopping doing those things that they'd want to do just because they don't want to do it. They're stopping doing that because it's hard to get away with and they don't want to get caught. So I'd still say that's a bad person, because you don't want a society full of people who want to murder. Even if they don't murder, the fact that they want to, it kind of just means that the minds of the people in the society are not like cooperative. Like, if you want to murder everyone around you, and everyone in society wants to murder everyone around them, but they don't, they just choose not to because they don't want to go to jail, to prison, or just because it'll be difficult to do that, then that's a bad society. As opposed to a society of people who choose not to, or the people who just don't want to do it. They think that the idea of killing somebody is just wrong, and it conflicts with every single thing that they believe in. Like, I think that it's more important to want to do the right thing, like deep down want to do the right thing, and then do the right thing than to not want to do the right thing but still do the right thing anyway. So for example, I would say that somebody who wants to do the right thing but can't can still be a good person, and someone who wants to do the right thing but accidentally does a bad thing is still considered a good person, because throughout the course of their life, most of the actions they do, like most of their actions, you can predict will be good, even if some of their actions are bad. Because of their intentions, most of the things that they do won't be bad. Most of the things they do will be good. As opposed to a person with bad intentions, where you really can't predict what they're going to do. You can assume that most people who have bad intentions will not do the bad intentions, because there obviously are punishments for doing negative things, so that dissuades them from doing it. But any situation where somebody doesn't care about the consequences, or they don't care about the consequences, or they know that they can get away with no consequences and do a bad thing, then they're likely to do it because it's what they want to do. And wanting to do something bad is bad. Like, that's the way I see it. If you want to do bad things, you're a bad person. If you want to do good things, you're a good person. That's the most I can simplify it. I can't really see the appeal to saying that somebody who wants to do bad things but does good things, it's like, yeah, but somebody who wants to do bad things and does good things, mostly, the next thing they do is more likely to be bad than somebody who wants to do good things. They'll consistently do good things and then maybe do something bad and then go back to doing good things. Whereas somebody who does bad things, they're always more likely to do bad things. So you'd want a society full of people with good intentions rather than a society of people with bad intentions who just won't act on them. And you definitely don't want a society full of people with bad intentions who do bad things, because then that's it. That's the end of the human race. At the moment, I think that religion and law have done a really good job in keeping people on the right path, if you want to call it that. But fear is not a great way of controlling people. So I think that once people stop being afraid of consequences, they'll start doing what they want to do purely for their self-interests, as opposed to doing something that is just altruistic. I think that, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that good people do good things. They can sometimes do bad things, but they mostly do good things, and they want to do good things, so they'll strive to do good things. Whereas bad people, they don't want to be doing good things, so if they get the chance, they won't. If a good person gets the chance to do something bad, they won't do that bad thing, they'll just keep doing good things. You get more reliable, more consistency from a good person, and you want more good people in society. Good intentioned people. And that's my argument for this. I would like to hear the counter argument to this, because it's a very interesting discussion point. Because I can kind of see the case for saying that actions matter more than intentions. I can see the case for it, but I just disagree with it, because like I say, it's, if you had to choose, do you want a society full of good intentioned people or bad intentioned people, where it's like, well, you want a society full of good intentioned people? I can't see the argument for wanting a society full of people with bad intentions, because that means that you get more likely to have bad things happen, right? That's my line of logic on that. I'd rather have a back and forth discussion about it than making a video, because I just keep getting lost in thought. Anyway, thanks for watching.